Because the place is called the Enchantments, I expected one of two things. Either a mystical realm where frogs talk and turn into princesses, or something with otherworldly scenery, the type that just makes grown men weep. And what I found was something else that was very unexpected. Life-changing moments, not postcard views, those deeper experiences that really land. Not because the mountains have changed, because we did. We got faster, louder, more distracted, more comfortable, and honestly, more crowded. So I'm out here trying to see what can be done about that. Ocean to Ice, or OTI, is a 6-month, 1,000-mile backpacking expedition through the Pacific Northwest and Canadian Rockies, used as a living laboratory. I'm basing out of my van, the Silver Sasquatch, between sections and sharing notes from the trail. The Enchantments, it's a section of wilderness in the North Cascades of Washington, and it just happens to be the most difficult wilderness permit to obtain in the entire United States, by far. Success rates stand at 1.9%, and for the coveted core zone, it's much less than that. I assume the place must be epic, so I applied in the 2026 lottery, which closed on March 1st. Days later, there was an email in my inbox welcoming me to the 98.1% club of other losers who didn't win the lottery. I guess misery loves company. So, I sighed. I moved on with my life. And I didn't know what the enchantments were anyway. My backup plan was another Northern Cascades backpacking trail called Spider Gap. Beautiful, rugged, no permit required. Seemed like a very solid consolation prize. So I pulled up to the ranger station in Leavenworth, Washington, a couple days prior to my planned journey up the Phelps Creek Trail and into Spider Gap. I wanted to see if I could annoy the rangers with a barrage of questions and possibly score a unique fridge magnet, because I collect fridge magnets. The rangers told me that the Spider Gap area was closed for the season. Forest fire. The scenery had been transformed into a big neglected s'more, all burnt up, black marshmallow remains still smoldering. And then on a passing note, one of the rangers said, "Hey, why don't you apply for a walk-up permit to the Enchantments?" And I said, "What?" Because I was confused. After asking a few more annoying questions, I was able to infer that the trailhead for the Enchantments, it was only 13 minutes away. And since I was within the 1-mile geo-fence of the ranger station, and technically I was at the ranger station, I could apply to the daily smartphone geofence walk-up lottery. A handful of spots available each day, hundreds of applicants, almost zero chance, but there was a chance. So I opened up the recreation.gov app and filled out the application. 2 hours later, another email hit my inbox. "Congratulations." I was skeptical about what came next. Maybe, "Congratulations, even though you didn't win the lottery for an Enchantments permit, you have been selected to take a timeshare tour." But it was actually legit. I had won the golden ticket. I knew something special had just happened, but I was unsure what it meant. Coincidence? So I pulled my backpack out of its storage spot in the Silver Sasquatch and started sorting gear. The adventure actually started at 5 a.m. with a shuttle ride from Snow Lake Trailhead to the Stewart Lake Trailhead, 3,000 feet up the mountain on a narrow beat up dirt road. And our driver said right off the bat, hey, every run I make, I try to beat my time. And I've been doing this for 3 years. And I think all of us in the van, we all kind of cocked our heads to the side like golden retrievers who thinks that they've just heard the UPS truck drive up the street. And then we were off, 12 passenger van, just like a derby horse. And we're just skimming across the ruts in the road as an afterthought. And you know, at certain speeds, ruts, they're just not felt, or the vehicle breaks in half. I think that's the phenomenon. And then a comment from the driver, this is no problem. We replace the suspension on our van every year. And I laughed to myself, like, who hired this guy? And then we made several very sketchy passes on the left with about 2 inches between vehicles. You know, I wasn't sure whether to be impressed or offended. But, you know, our time up the mountain, it was good. It was better than good. And our driver was obviously very pleased with himself. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt and a big tip. I mean, no one died, no one threw up, and I think most of me thought it was fun. The hike to Kolchak Lake was as expected. Steady climbing, nonstop for 2 hours, and Kolchak, it was insanely beautiful, but I didn't linger. I needed to get around that lake, which wasn't an easy scramble, then up Asgard Pass before the sun hit and everyone left on the pass would feel like they were baking alive. Now, Asgard, the name, it's from the mythical realm of Norse gods and the Great Hall of Valhalla. Now, let's not get overly dramatic, just that the name, it was made to evoke a landscape that feels mythical, otherworldly, and brutal, and the name definitely fits. Of course, while climbing the pass, I thought the name was from The Lord of the Rings and kept making jokes to people I passed about sweaty Gollum and such, and now I know why everyone seemed confused. Now, I've been up and down many mountain passes over the years, so many, all over the world, including some monsters in the Andes and the high Himalaya. But this one, holy mother of pearl, it was the worst, and I'm not joking. Mercifully, not coincidence, I just happened to be listening to James A. Michener's book, Alaska, particularly the part where thousands of Klondike stampeders were making the 550-mile journey from Daiya to Dawson City during the gold rush of 1897 and 1898. The last mile and 1,000 feet of the Chilkoot Pass was called the Golden Stairs. Literally 1,500 steps chopped into the ice. Each person averaged 40 trips up and down the stairs ferrying their gear. So a packed line of bodies moved up and down the mountain literally without a break for months. Avalanches got some, and the whole thing was just nothing like it has ever been seen. All this, it made my situation going up Asgard Pass feel less terrible. And I thought, man, if I could go back in time, I'd travel to Alaska and I'd give every one of those stampeders a cookie and a fist bump. I was suffering, and what they had done was incomprehensibly harder. So I stopped at the top of the pass and the sun had just hit and I was starting to sweat and I was panting heavily. Not really for the lack of air, though that was part of it. It was almost like a release of tension, of inner emotion. I'd just been on the edge and intensely focused for hours, and now there was finally a break and something just released inside of me. I was just exhausted and literally just panting like a dog. And beyond Asgard, the world suddenly, it flattened into a 3-mile basin, unlike anything I'd ever seen. The core zone was an endless expanse of white, broken granite, like bleached bones, accentuated by the pure, blinding white of the remaining snow, the deepest of blue skies, and billowing white clouds moving along on their own forced march. It felt less like I'd climbed into the mountains and more like I'd wandered into a different world. Dragon Tail Peak and the Witch's Tower, They loomed above, a key feature of almost every vista. Then there were endless small lakes called tarns, not really lakes in the traditional sense, but glacier-formed depressions in the granite filled with Caribbean blue water. The occasional gnarled whitebark pine offered vestiges of green. Lone wildflowers dotted the landscape. Not meadows of them like at Rainier, just isolated, determined little guys. Seemed like they were making their last stand. The most curious thing was these enormous white fluffy mountain goats, and I swear these were zombie goats. I mean, zombie humans, they walk around looking for blood, and zombie goats wander around looking for places where people have urinated so they can lick the rocks. I mean, it was an obsession with these goats. Even the baby goats were in on it. And so one night I decided to set a zombie goat trap. Before bed, I urinated on several big rocks at strategic places near my tent. And by morning, hey, the spell had worked. 15 goats were wandering through camp, licking rocks. They sometimes stopped a few feet away to stare at me through their strange rectangular pupils, like they were trying to decide whether I ranked above them or below a rock I peed on. For a while, I thought they might be trying to get my Little Debbie cosmic brownies. And as I discovered, not even goats will eat those things. Goats prefer pee over Little Debbie's. Ha, note taken. The goats, they were awesome. I could have hung out with them all day. And I definitely wanted to grab one of the cute little babies and make a run for it. I just keep it in my van and I teach it the ways of ocean to ice. Anyway, I may never figure out a way to describe the upper core. It didn't resemble anywhere else I've ever backpacked. Beautiful, but not in the way I expected. Enchanting? Yes, but in the way of something you just can't stop looking at and you don't know why. The upper core, it doesn't feel lush. It feels ancient, almost post-apocalyptic, like nature after everything unnecessary has been removed. And I couldn't stop looking at it. A steep and somewhat exposed down climb took me out of the upper core and into the lower enchantments. And the lower enchantments were staggering in a way that I could understand. I kept stopping. Every turn revealed another lake, reflecting another impossible wall of granite, deep blue sky, reflections, and lots of pines. It felt like this area stole all of the best alpine lake spots all over the West and put them in one place. Each lake here would justify its own national park. You know, with the enchantments, everyone talks about Asgard Pass, and they should, but no one warned me about the next 8,000 feet down. I mean, one comment in All Trails I noticed later says, don't underestimate the rock scrambling on the descent. End of quote. After every beautiful lake, there was a steep drop to the next, and they were very steep. Underrated, technical, exposed, rock climbing moves. Shocking. One spot had rebar drilled into the granite, then cemented in place to help backpackers avoid sliding to their death. I had climbed roughly 5,800 feet to reach the top of Asgard. From there, nearly 8,300 feet of descending still remained. Everyone talks about going up. They should talk more about coming down. And then, I think I finally understood it. The entire experience of the enchantments, it unfolds like a fairy tale. I mean, because of the name, and because of how impossible the permit is to get, you expect the type of prize that you'd get from a great fairy tale. Something like kissing a talking frog that turns into a princess. And for me, the views delivered. Better than expected. But every great fairy tale, it also has a wicked witch. And that's the part that people seem to forget. For me, that was definitely the terrain. The relentless climb up and the even more relentless climb down. Both were far more difficult than I had anticipated. Then there's something that I never saw coming, a third element. I found a place that refused to fit into any category of my mind. It was part wasteland and part heaven, part another planet. That was a place that felt as though it belonged in a fairy tale and not on a map. And maybe that's the biggest reason that they call it the Enchantments. So back at the van, breathed a sigh of relief, and I took off my backpack and sat there for a minute, realized that, hey, I'd found the princess. I had barely survived the Wicked Witch, and I had wandered through a world that still doesn't make complete sense to me. It was the complete fairy tale, and it was enchanting. So my legs, they need a couple days to recover, and maybe a little bit of time for the winds to shift so it can blow out some of this forest fire smoke, and then back to the trail. Pack's on. Let's see what's still out there. I gotta shoot straight with you guys. Look at her. Little Debbie did not make these. She does not have access to the chemicals needed.